All right, so for this new value scale, we are going to be using the pointillism technique. So the pointillism technique is a drawing or painting technique that involves basically placing very small dots very close to each other in order to create either a color or just value in an image. So we are going to start by putting tape all around our value scale. We'll grab our pen, we'll outline our darkest value, and we will start basically adding very small dots very, very close to each other. We're going to have the dots overlap. We are going to try our best to create a very dark, almost as dark as our scribbling dark, almost as dark as our cross hatching dark, as our hatching dark. So just make sure you add lots of dots close to each other, creating almost like a black value. As you can see, our dots are very close. We are starting to slowly build up that value. We're starting to slowly make that square feel darker. The dots can overlap, and just try your best to not make it into small lines. Try your best to keep it into small dots that are close together. And this value scale is going to be the one that takes the longest time, and this square is going to take a very long time in order to achieve that darkness of the dots. So once we're done with that, we are going to outline our lightest square in our value scale, and we're just going to add some dots all around, very far away from each other, very separate, and we're going to still be able to see a lot of the white on the page. Once we're done with all of those dots, make sure that they're spread about even with each other. We are going to be able to peel off that tape that outlines the lightest square, and we are going to be able to start working on our next one. So our next one is going to be the middle one. So we are going to outline it with the tape, and then we are going to get started by adding some dots. So in this area, we are going to add enough dots that they almost kind of overlap with each other, but not so much. So let's try to match that value to the value of the square at the top of this one. So the scribbling value, the value of the cross hatching, and the value of the hatching. So as you can see, the colors look very similar to each other. This one and the square above look very similar in tone. So what we're creating right now is our middle value on the value scale, so our middle tone. So for the other two squares, we are going to fill them in, basically matching between this one and the dark one, or this one and the light one. So for the light one, we are going to look at the one we created, so our lightest one, and we're going to basically add some dots to this one. And the dots are going to be a little bit closer, but they're definitely not going to overlap as much as our middle one. So as we can see, this one is starting to get a little bit more filled in. We have outlined it with the tape, and we are adding more tone to it. We're adding more value, and I'm still kind of trying to match it to the one above. So I'm still trying to match it to the second square of the value scale right above it. So try to always match the tone with the tone above, or with the tone of your image, or with your tone, with the tone of your reference photo, with the value. So if you have an image where someone's wearing a black shirt, you are going to be using the darkest value. So the dots are going to be very, very close together. If you have an image that the shirt is white, you're barely going to put any dots. You're just going to be putting dots where the folds are of the fabric and where the shadows are. So right now we're going to be working on our middle to dark values. So we are still going to basically look at our middle value, middle tone, and we're going to still add a lot more dots compared to that one, but a lot less compared to our darkest one. So it should not take as long as our darkest one. It should be a little bit quicker, but it should still take a little bit of time. So even for this one, even though it's going to be looking a lot darker, we're still going to be able to see the dots. So still try to make them not lines. Try to still try your best to control your pen and make sure that they still look like dots and they're not little lines. So once we're done, we're just going to peel off the tape and we're going to be able to see the difference in all of those values. So we're going to start from the lightest and we're going to get to the darkest, and we are going to be able to see the difference within all of this value scale. So good job, you finished it. I know this one took a while. You did it.